just get everyone's attention, please. Thank you very much.
It's a great honor for me to speak to the General Assembly for the Metis Nation of Saskatchewan. After being out of politics for over 30 years. But I would first like to call on Leonard Moore, who was honored by the veterans for building the monument at Metis. Honoring all the veterans who died at Metis, World War I and World War II. All during the time the Metis Nation was continually, the initiatives were completely closed, fighting over the leadership.
Thank you very much, Frank. I accept this on your behalf because of your grandparents, your mom and dad, your great-grandparents, they were both involved in the First World War and the Second World War. And I worked in cooperation with my colleagues on GDI and David Sartran and Clem Sarchi. And this was a long journey. It took 6 years. Even GDI wanted to quit, and I wanted to quit because there was no money coming forward. And it was a long struggle, and it finally became reality with the help of CCDF. So, you know, it's a great honor for me to receive this, but it was a bigger honor to sacrifice 6 years of my life without any pay to get this monument done for our veterans in Saskatchewan. And now it's there for our people to stand tall and remember their veterans. Thank you very much.
I was not going to say anything further about veterans. But after listening to that lady here a few minutes ago, I decided to mention something that occurred a few years ago. There was a meeting in not Battleford, Meadow Lake, and I decided to speak about the veterans, because to me, the First Nations veterans were receiving some benefits and our veterans are not. I was able to get the Assembly to organize a meeting for me, myself, and another veteran from Meadow Lake to go to Ottawa to meet and speak to the Minister of Veterans Affairs. We were able to obtain $150,000 for veterans to jumpstart an organization, a veterans organization, on behalf of the veterans that went to war and never received anything on their return. The first meeting we had when the money arrived, one of the guys got up. Now I mentioned there was very few veterans alive by that time. These are peacetime guys. One of them got up and said I couldn't be a member of the veterans organization because I was now a Bill C-31. And I got Bill C-31 because of my health. And besides, Malcolm Norris used to say, we're all in East House anyway, and we should all work together. But because of residential schools, it couldn't be done at the time. I received $150,000. The first meeting I went to, I told you, I couldn't be a member of the Veterans Association on behalf of the veterans there because of the Bill C-31. Within 1 year, they blew $150,000 going to funerals. Every one of the executive members would go to a funeral, a veteran's funeral. Everybody gets expenses. I went to 2 funerals on my own expense for one of the guys that I went with to Ottawa. I went to his funeral, and all these members now that belong to the Veterans Organization were there, all on expenses. Me and my son were there on our own. Went to another funeral. Again, my son and I on our own. Again, all the Metis executive, veteran executive were there, all of them, all on expenses. Within 1 year, $150,000 gone. Some guys got as much as $10,000 in 1 year out of the $150,000. And when this money was gone, so was the veteran organization. I waited all day yesterday, wondering when the Metis Nation of Saskatchewan, at this exemplary, would honor him for a great contribution in memory of those who died, hoping for a better life for the Metis of all Canada. And I'm referring to Mr. Martin. I come from a family who devoted their lives working for the betterment, not only for the Metis and First Nations, but for anyone in need. My grandfather's parents, both were telegraph operators and had hired a Cree nanny to raise the children. My grandfather learned to speak Cree fluently, although he was Irish, and to learn all about all the history of the struggles of the Metis people. When during the uprising at Metis, my grandfather was there. He was recruited by the RCMP because he was familiar with telegraphs, road and fair telegraph line. He was taken prisoner by the members of Metis. He was and they said, "Come on, Peter, you're a prisoner of war." They knew him. He was up in the church, top of the church, as a prisoner, not with the regular prisoners that had been taken, and he witnessed the Battle of Metis from there. He was at the witness of Louis Riel's trial. And he said someday they'll build a monument for him because he was right. He became farm instructor at Metis. When you get old, you tend to, pardon me. At Battleford, the reserve there, cut knife, and he married Poundmaker's widow. My grandmother became a Metis when she got married, according to Prime Minister. Anyway, my father was born there at the age of 7. He was sent to Winnipeg to go to school, live with my grandfather's sister, not knowing one word of English. Going to school there, he was beaten up every day, and then when he come home, he'd be given hell again by his aunt for fighting. Finally, when he was old enough to speak, he said, "I wasn't fighting, I was getting a licking." Then she realized what was happening, and she said, "That wasn't what I meant." She said, "If you have to fight, fight. He said that was the only time he was glad to go to school. On the way back from school, he picked up a stick and he was rattling along the fences they used to have. And the bully come along and kicked him in the ass. Turned around and hit him on the head with his stick, knocked him down, and beat the hell out of him. Then he became one of the boys. And he learned the lesson that my grandfather wanted him to learn. If you don't fight for your rights, you'll never have any. I think I'm just going to leave this way to talk. My father went to school, sent to Winnipeg to go to school, as I told you. When he come out of there, the parents moved to a place called Greward, Alberta, near the last part of the Lesser Slave Lake, by steamboat. There's no railroad then. My grandfather was a farm instructor. My dad was a blacksmith, learned blacksmithing. And the two of them became Alberta-wide reputation, fighting for the rights of not only the Metis people, Aboriginal people, but also white people. One of the guys that belonged to the Masonic Lodge came to my father, asking and wanted to promote him as a member of the Metis Lodge, the lodge in Hyde Prairie. At these lodges, Masonic Lodge, in order to accept a member, the members are given two balls, a black and a white ball. There was one black ball when my father made him ascension to be accepted into the Masonic Lodge, given by a lawyer, a racist lawyer. Jack Rubley, the guy that sponsored my father, got so mad, and he said, "You're just blackballed the best man I know, and a better man than anybody in this lodge." He says, "I will resign my membership. I will leave this lodge. I won't leave. I'll pay my dues, but I'll never ever darken your door again." After gaining a reputation like my father, Jody Owen, Malcolm North, Jim Brady, and a few others came to Alberta to ask my father to help them join the Metis organization. They formed the Metis Association of Alberta.
Up here.
And they wouldn't accept government money at all. They said, "If you accept government money, then they'll own you." So there was pennies and nickels, and every time this is the hard times, dirty 30s, had concerts and everything. I was one guy that was in the concert, about age 7. I remember, just like yesterday, 5 of us kids were together, and we were talking what we wanted to be when we grew up. One guy wanted to be a school teacher, wanted to be a doctor. Another guy wanted to raise cattle. My turn come, and I said, "I want to be the president of the Half-Breed Association of Alberta." I never made it. During the constitutional talks, We went to Ottawa. I was a member of the Metis, the secretary, secretary for the Metis at the time. We went to Ottawa to do talks on Aboriginal on Constitution. And there was a couple of guys there. All the ministers, all the premiers from across Canada were there. Grant Devine was Premier of Saskatchewan, totally against treaty rights and the Constitution. Grant Devine, that was Grant Devine, and the president or Premier of British Columbia, I can't think of his name right now.
Bill Vanderjam.
Vanderjam, right on. He was there, and he was totally against treaty rights. Sinclair got up, and many of you know Sinclair. He could out-talk anybody. I think he was to talk to God. God would be very careful with using argument. He got up and bawled the hell out of Grant Devine, then looked at Vanderjam and said, our people went over to your country and helped liberate your country, and now you want to take the rights of the Aboriginal people away. Trudeau was so frustrated at the turn of events, he got up and said, why don't you two guys trade places, referring to Saul Sanderson, the leader of the First Nations. That was it for that. And then when he come back, nothing was resolved at the meeting. It was quite obvious that the Constitution came back without treaty rights in the Constitution. They never would be. I spoke at the university for the political science group there a couple times, saying that if the treaty rights are brought back without them being in the Constitution, they never will be. Sinclair decided to send me to England. Me and the guy went. And having grown up with people involved in politics, without accepting any money from government, because if you accept money from government, they said they own you. The first thing I did when I got there was go to the opposition. Didn't bother with government at all, just went to the opposition. I remember, and then he made arrangements, and this is in the lobby. When I didn't know what lobby meant at the time, I found out there. There must have been 500 people in the lobby there, all talking to the respective ministers in government. The guy we talked to made arrangements with a member of the House of Lords. And I phoned Sinclair, come up, we got a meeting. He came up with Rod Bishop, Mackenzie, DeRocher. I'm sorry about DeRocher. We met with one of the members of the House of Lords on the grounds outside Buckingham Palace. They had tea. Next day we had a meeting with the members of the House of Lords. Representing, there was a committee that was supposed to speak to the Metis people on behalf of a committee to speak to the Metis people. Sinclair was just outstanding, because he usually was, when he got ready to speak. We come out of there with a signed agreement. Aboriginal rights would be in the Constitution. Got a picture taken. When they come up, I took a picture, Sinclair, Mackenzie, and that guy that shouldn't have come with us. I have it at home. Stickler doesn't got any credit for it. Which all we got was the pictures. When the Queen brought the Constitution back, for treaty rights in the Constitution, none of us were in attendance. We were proud of what we had done. I listened yesterday to the meeting, and it certainly wasn't like the rowdy meetings we used to have when I was in Metis politics. We now have educated people, some were quite vocal. You're going into an election. I hope you do what the First Nations have done, is elect people with the kind of education and degrees that can do something worthy for the Metis people. You cannot continue keeping the guys that is there for the last 30 years and having the guys. I don't know if I should continue on or cry. But as I said, it's up to you if you want to advance the Metis people, or if you want to stay like you were, like you have been in the last 30 years. And I thank you from my heart for the opportunity to speak with you as a Bill C-31, which we all should be, because now the Metis are recognized as party members of the First Nations. Something that Malcolm Norris used to say, we're all East House anyway.